Incredibly touching. When a millionaire's car breaks down, a hidden farmer's help reveals life-changing truths. Tom stared out the window of his luxury car, the glossy interior reflecting a life he had meticulously crafted. San Francisco's skyline was a distant memory as the open road beckoned him with promises of escape. But suddenly, the engine coughed, sputtered, and fell silent, leaving him stranded on a quiet country road. In that moment, the weight of his million-dollar empire seemed just as fragile as the car he was now helplessly parked in. The sun cast a warm, golden glow over the endless fields around him, a stark contrast to his stress-laden corporate jungle. With impatience bubbling inside him, Tom began scrolling through emails, his fingers racing over the screen in a futile attempt to escape this disruption. Just as frustration peaked, a modest pickup truck pulled up beside him. Out stepped Hank, a farmer whose well-worn flannel and tired jeans told stories no boardroom could convey. "Need a hand?" he asked, his voice warm and unpretentious. Tom forced a smile, irritated that his luxurious getaway had taken such a detour. Yet, as Hank casually leaned against Tom's car, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of intrigue. Hank invited him to his home for lunch while waiting for the tow. Tom hesitated, but curiosity pulled him in. It seemed like nothing more than a quick jaunt away from his phone and his life. The farmeress' home was a universe of laughter, a symphony of family working hard together. The kitchen infused with the rich scent of freshly tilled earth felt foreign to Tom, who was accustomed only to the sterile aroma of corporate coffee. As Hank began to share stories that revealed the fabric of his life about hard work, resilience, and unbreakable community ties, Tom found himself captivated, discomfort bubbling under the surface. Then, an unexpected gust of tension swept through the house over dinner. Hank shared news about a recent corporate decision that could devastate his farm. Tom's heart sank. He could hardly reconcile the implications of such a decision with the light-hearted stories he'd just heard. Hank's face clouded with worry, revealing the realities Tom had long shielded himself from. Here was a man whose life depended on the choices made by someone like Tom, standing across one table as friends and family catered to the evening meal, the disconnected chasm of wealth hanging heavily between them. As darkness descended beyond the windows, the vibrant energy felt replaced by palpable fear in Hank's voice. Tom's mind raced. He felt the burden of his privilege but was powerless to change the corporate decision made far away. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Tom mulled over his next move, caught between the life he had always settled for and the reality playing out in front of him, a phone call interrupted his thoughts. The voice on the line was one he recognized all too well, and could change everything. But as he stood there, his heart racing with uncertainty, Tom could feel the tension of the crossroads ahead. Would he choose the comfort of his corporate world, or embrace the new connections stirring deep within his soul? The night stretched on, the choices ahead blazing brightly against the dark sky. Tom steadied himself, still holding the phone. He was on the verge of answering, but the voices around him, the laughter, the warmth made him hesitate. They felt like an awakening, casting aside the numbing weight of his corporate existence. A part of him craved to stay in this moment, enveloped in Hank's world, yet another part tugged him back to the looming responsibilities of his life back in San Francisco. "Tom? You there?" His assistant's chirpy voice cut through his haze, bringing him back to the sterile conference rooms waiting for him. He finally replied, the words almost choking him as he spoke them, "I'll call back." He hung up, feeling oddly relieved yet burdened by the choice that lay ahead. Hank caught a glimpse of Tom's internal battle. "You okay, city boy?" he asked, breaking the silence with a light-hearted smile that hinted at understanding. "Yeah, just thinking." Tom's voice faltered, unsure if he could share his conflict. "I just didn't expect a breakdown to lead to this." "I get it," Hank chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "Life has a funny way of turning things upside down, huh? Sometimes, we don't see what we really need until we're stuck." Those words sank deep into Tom's core. Stuck. That was it. He felt stuck in a world driven by profit and performance metrics. This was a glimpse into a different life, where people mattered more than spreadsheets. Just then, one of Hank's kids burst into the room, her face streaked with dirt and a huge grin plastered across her cheeks. "Dad! The chickens got out again," she declared, laughter bubbling over as she raced out of the room, a chaotic energy spilling behind her. Tom watched her go with a budding sense of nostalgia. Was this the joy of a simpler life he had always brushed off? He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, the enormity of his realization hitting him. All his success, the relentless drive for more, what had it really given him? Sure, he had wealth, but at what cost? Dinner wrapped up, but the heaviness didn't lift entirely. Hank was deep in thought, alternating between looking at Tom and absent-mindedly pushing his food around his plate. "You know," he said slowly, "you could help us. You have the skills, the connections." Tom's heart raced. The very thought sent waves of panic and excitement coursing through him. He could help? In so many ways, that felt like a commitment so starkly different from his usual lifestyle. It was one thing to attend charity galas, it was another to get his hands dirty, to put his money and influence behind something that mattered. But what would that mean for him? Would he leave behind everything he had built? A new question swirled in his mind, full of both dread and allure. What kind of impact could he truly make? As the night drew to a close, Tom found himself looking out at the fields sparkling in the moonlight, endless and full of promise. He felt aware of an inner calling, a whisper of change brushing against him. Would he answer it? Just before leaving, Hank clapped Tom on the shoulder, capturing his attention once more. "Remember, we all have a choice. Just don't let the wind take you where you'd rather not go." Tom nodded, his thoughts racing. The time was now. In that simple farmer's home, under that low ceiling filled with laughter and genuine love, a new path beckoned. But would he find the courage to step off the well-worn road? As he drove away, the glow of Hank's house dwindling in the rearview mirror, Tom felt an undeniable pull. The intricacies of his life were waiting for him, yet an excitement brewed deep within. What would become of him if he chose to follow this new calling? Would he have the courage to confront both his past and his future? The road stretched ahead, dark and uncertain, and for the first time, he didn't want to rely on the luxury his wealth provided but instead yearned to chart a path driven by purpose. The trees lined the road like silent sentinels as Tom navigated through the darkness, his mind racing with possibilities. Every mile seemed to echo Hank's words, the weight of them pressing on his chest. You have a choice. Was he really willing to leave it all behind? The comfort of his high-rise apartment, the expanse of his bank account, the accolades that once addressed him like old friends. As he pulled into a gas station, he needed a moment to breathe. The flickering lights overhead cast a flickering glow on the pavement, illuminating a world that felt distant and unreal. Tom stepped out of his car, the cool air biting against his skin, invigorating but also grounding. Every decision had led him here, to this crossroads. The scent of gasoline mixed with fried food lingered in the air, a stark reminder of the ordinary lives people lived daily, lives that seemed to glide past his formerly structured world. He wandered into the convenience store, seeking anything to momentarily quell the chaos in his mind. Behind the counter, an elderly man, silver strands of hair framing his weathered face, nodded at Tom. He smiled, and for a moment, it was like looking in a mirror, seeing himself reflected in the man's spark of warmth amidst the routine. Long day? The man asked, his voice gravelly yet welcoming. Tom hesitated, but the honesty in the man's gaze coaxed him to respond. Yeah, I guess you could say that. I'm just figuring things out. Ah, the old man chuckled gently. Aren't we all? Life loves to throw us curveballs. Just gotta swing back. Something about that resonated. Tom couldn't remember the last time someone had given him room for honesty without judgment. He found himself elaborating on Hank's invitation, how it had shaken loose a yearning he thought had long been buried under deadlines and meetings. The man listened, wringing his hands, a habitual act like a farmer tending to his crops. You know, he said slowly, it's never too late to plant new seeds. Tom pondered that. New seeds. Would he have the strength to nurture them into something real? As he finished his transaction, he felt a flicker of gratitude, not just for the old man's wisdom but for being able to voice his uncertainty out loud. On the road again, Tom couldn't stop replaying the conversation in his head. A different kind of warmth settled in his chest. It reminded him of the laughter from Hank's home. What if he could be part of cultivating something beyond himself? It felt like embarking on a journey towards something profoundly rewarding, rather than merely profitable. His thoughts kept spiraling back, teasing the edges of what he could do to make a difference. What if he turned his skills toward helping those like Hank? The thought ignited a flicker of hope. Perhaps the connections he'd built could be used to empower rather than merely profit from. As he navigated the winding roads, the hum of the tires created a hypnotic rhythm. In the distance, dawn began to break, casting an orange glow across the horizon. It felt different, somehow fresh and untamed. These roads, with their curves and hills, were no longer merely pathways to another obligation. They were gateways into a possible future. Tom's heart quickened as he visualized the work he could do. To channel his energy into a community, to create partnerships for growth and purpose. Was he truly capable of it? As anticipation danced in his chest, he knew he didn't want to turn back. Before he reached the highway, he saw a familiar sign for a community center, a building he had passed every day on his commutes, unnoticed until now. Something in him urged him to stop. Would he dare to walk through its doors, to confront the life waiting for him there? With a deep breath, he swung into the parking lot, the gravel crunching beneath his tires as he parked under the haven of trees. In the stillness, uncertainty loomed like a mist, but so did the endless possibilities. Would he have the courage to step into the unknown? Tom sat in the car for a moment, his fingers tapping nervously on the steering wheel. A million thoughts churned in his head, overshadowed by a singular fear: what awaited him inside that community center? Every heartbeat felt amplified in the silence, echoing the uncertainty that danced just out of reach. With a deep breath, he finally unbuckled his seatbelt and stepped out. The morning air was fresh, rich with the promise of a new day. He walked toward the community center, each step heavier than the last. The building stood welcoming, painted in cheerful colors, inviting all manner of voices and stories. As he approached the entrance, he pushed the door open and was greeted by a rush of laughter and chatter. The vibrant energy inside was palpable, and yet, the noise felt distant, a reminder of how removed he'd been from any sense of community. Inside, colorful bulletin boards plastered with flyers lined the walls, showcasing upcoming events, classes, and local gatherings. A group of young parents with strollers chatted animatedly, while children raced past in a blur of giggles. Tom's heart raced, but not with fear this time. There was something revitalizing about the atmosphere. He'd spent endless nights in lonely hotel rooms after late meetings, sipping whiskey as he scrolled through social media, feeling a gnawing sense of emptiness. "Can I help you?" A voice broke through his thoughts, drawing his gaze to a woman behind the reception desk, her smile wide and genuine. I was just," he faltered, suddenly at a loss for words. How did he articulate his sudden yearning for connection? "I'm looking to get involved. I've been thinking about making a difference." Her smile broadened, and a kind of warmth washed over him. "That's wonderful. We always have room for more hands. Are you interested in volunteering? We have programs for mentoring youth, community gardening, and even organizing events." Tom's throat tightened. The mentoring option struck a chord deep within. He remembered Hank mentioning the kids in his neighborhood, how they needed guidance, someone to believe in them. But then doubts crept in. What could he offer that would actually matter? I'm not sure I'm qualified," he admitted, scratching the back of his neck, the familiar anxiety returning. "I've spent my whole life in a completely different world." "You'd be surprised at what you know," she replied, her voice steady and reassuring. "It's not about titles, it's about heart. The kids could use a role model, someone with experience, even if it's a different kind. You've built a life for yourself, and that matters." Tom felt his heartbeat louder in his chest, the weight of her words settling within. The very idea of sharing his knowledge ignited something in him. What did he have to lose? Just then, a young girl, no older than 8, rushed by, her curly hair bouncing as she laughed with her friends. She skidded to a halt, looking up at him with bright eyes, curious. "Are you gonna help us? We're planting a garden." "Yes. I think I'd like to help with it," he said, a smile breaking free uncontrollably. The girl beamed. "Come on, then.
We can always use more hands.
As Tom followed the girl deeper into the center, laughter surrounding him, he felt a spark of excitement, an unfamiliar thrill bubbling up inside. Maybe, just maybe, he could plant those seeds and watch them grow, but even as hope surged, deep down, he wondered if he could truly face the challenges ahead, the fear of failure and the weight of expectations that clung to him. And then, as excitement mixed with doubt, he spotted Hank walking in, his familiar face bright with that contagious energy.
Would Hank encourage him on this new path, or would his doubts drag Tom back down? Tom! Hank called, waving his hand. I was just looking for you. Tom's pulse quickened. What did this encounter mean for his plans? Could he really forge a new path, or was he destined to remain just another millionaire lost in his own world?
Tom's heart hitched as he met Hank's enthusiastic gaze. His friend's presence felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. Hank was always a burst of energy, a reminder of all that was vibrant and alive in the world.
What's up, Hank? Tom tried to sound casual, though the butterflies in his stomach were having a party.
I heard you were thinking about joining the gardening team. Hank smiled, his voice laced with genuine excitement.
That's awesome. Those kids are going to love having you around.
Yeah, I guess Tom trailed off, his voice faltering. He didn't want to sound uncertain, but the truth was, he was still wrestling with that pit of fear in his gut.
Did he really have it in him to help these kids?
No guess about it, Hank encouraged, stepping closer.
You've got experience to share. I know you've built a life many would envy.
Those kids need more than just basic skills, they need to see what's possible.
You could be that for them.
Tom's brow furrowed, processing Hank's words. He had spent years chasing targets in the corporate world, blind to the very community that had silently watched him succeed.
Could he become a beacon instead of just another face in the crowd? Before he could respond, a commotion caught their attention.
The same girl who had approached Tom earlier was now pulling at the sleeve of another staff member, her eyes wide with excitement.
Can we start today? Please?
She asked, her voice a blend of hope and impatience. The staff member laughed, clearly charmed.
Of course. It's a perfect day for planting. Everyone formed their groups?
Tom felt a rush of warmth as he watched the kids gather into small clusters, their laughter ringing through the hall. It was a sound so pure, so filled with possibility. He turned back to Hank, who still wore that encouraging grin.
Doesn't it feel good to be part of something like this?
Hank asked, his eyes brightening.
You know, I always thought money was the measure of success.
But I've learned it's the connections we make and the lives we touch that really matter.
Tom couldn't help but nod.
The old intangibles, the joy of helping, the warmth of community had been absent in his life for too long. Perhaps this was his chance to rewrite the narrative, to regain a part of himself that had seemed lost in the corporate chaos. I think I'm ready, Tom said, his voice gaining strength.
Let us get to work.
Each step toward the garden felt lighter now, the weight of his doubts slowly dissipating. He embraced the unfamiliar idea of guiding these kids, mentoring them through the ups and downs of life while digging in the dirt together. As they stepped outside into the sun, he felt his heart shift, a mix of nervousness and excitement igniting anew.
Whoa, you're really going for it!
Hank exclaimed, watching as Tom began to interact with the kids, who bubbled with excitement about the garden. As he knelt down to meet them at eye level, Tom noticed how they watched him, eager and hopeful. It was a simple moment, yet it held a promise of transformation. Would he be able to connect with them, to inspire them, to give them a glimpse of his own world and dreams? And just when he thought he might overtake the bubbling joy of the moment, he received a notice on his phone, a call from the office he thought he'd left behind. Would he slip back into his old world, or would he choose to stay here in the garden, where he could become the person he truly wanted to be? Tom hesitated, the device vibrating in his hand. He glanced at the children laughing, dirt smudging their cheeks, and felt the pull of each life around him.
How would he respond? Would he risk everything, or retreat back into the safe cocoon of his past?
The phone buzzed in his palm again, a reminder of the world he was trying to leave behind. Tom's heart raced, the laughter of the children contrasting sharply with the sterile, familiar ringtone of his office phone. He glanced down, staring at the name that lit up the screen, his boss. A voice in his head urged him to answer, to just hear what was so important that it couldn't wait. But the bubbling excitement of the children, their joyful smiles, tugged at him harder. He felt a wave of warmth wash over him as their laughter echoed through the air, mixing with the sweet smell of freshly turned soil. This wasn't just a garden, it was a chance to nurture dreams.
Tom, everything okay? Hank's voice nudged him back to the moment. He looked up to see concern etched on his friend's face.
Yeah, just it's the office, Tom muttered, the weight of the phone heavy in his hand.
Forget it. Hank waved dismissively. You're here now.
Let us plant some seeds literally and figuratively. Tom chuckled, the warmth of Hank's energy creeping under his skin. He pocketed the phone, feeling a sense of resolve settle deep within him. It was time to focus, to embrace the opportunity standing before him. He could always call back later. The kids were depending on him, and he wouldn't let them down. All right, who wants to help me plant some sunflower seeds? He called out, his voice booming with unexpected enthusiasm. The kids' faces lit up, and a chorus of shouts filled the air.
Me! Me! Me!
Tom could hardly contain his grin as they rushed toward him, dirt-stained hands raised in excitement. He knelt down, ready to show them how to plant the seeds. He demonstrated, digging a small hole in the ground, explaining the importance of care and patience as they dropped the seeds in. Each seed is a little dream, Tom said, his voice softening. It needs the right soil, sunshine, and water to grow. Just like us. The kids listened intently, their expressions shifting from playful excitement to deep consideration. A girl with pigtails, her hands still caked with soil, looked up at him with wide eyes. But what if it doesn't grow? She asked, uncertainty creeping into her voice. Tom felt a pang in his heart. Sometimes things don't go as planned. But that's okay. We learn from it, and we try again. Just like in life. A boy beside her nodded sagely, and soon the conversation flowed between them, sharing tales of failed attempts, silly mishaps, and moments of triumph. It was a fragile yet powerful transformation, a connection blossoming between them. As the sun warmed their backs, Tom realized this was his true calling. This was where he belonged. He found joy in their hopes, their laughter, and in the simple act of planting together. But then, just as he was beginning to settle into this feeling, his phone buzzed again, this time with a text. Curiosity piqued, he discreetly glanced at the screen. Urgent meeting. Need your input. His heart sank. The office had a knack for pulling him back, even when he desperately wanted to break free. The tension between his past and present felt like a rubber band, stretched tight. Tom took a deep breath, scanning the garden at the joyful faces surrounding him, children believing in possibilities, in a future filled with love and growth. In that moment, he faced a choice once more. Would he slip away, chasing the fleeting shadows of his previous life, or stay, watering the seeds of change in front of him? The question loomed heavy in the air, waiting for his answer. What would he choose to nurture, a thriving garden or a corporate ladder? As he deliberated, Hank suddenly called out, drawing everyone's attention. Look! The next group is coming over for their planting session. Tom turned to see a new batch of children approaching, eyes filled with curiosity. A decision loomed ahead, and the weight of it hung in the air like the scent of blooming flowers. Would he take the plunge into uncertainty, or retreat back to safety? Tom felt his heart racing as the children gathered around him, their excitement palpable. What would he do next? Tom took a step back, absorbing the sight of the new group of children with their eager faces and messy hair. Their laughter filled the air like music, a sweet contrast to the cold tone of the phone that still buzzed ominously in his pocket. He could feel the familiar pull of that corporate world, but it faded slightly as he focused on the children. Hello? Who's ready to plant some more seeds? He called, trying to channel the energy spilling out of the kids. They jumped up and down, shouting their names and clamoring for attention, their excitement contagious. Tom gestured for them to gather around him. Okay, let us get started. Who remembers what we talked about before? The girl with pigtails from earlier raised her hand enthusiastically. The seeds need the right soil. Right. Tom smiled. And what else?
Another boy chimed in, sunshine. And he encouraged, enjoying the back and forth. Water.
They shouted in unison, their voices harmonizing like a joyful choir.
With a grin, Tom knelt back down to demonstrate once more. Perfect. You all are the best gardeners.
He felt a sense of purpose flare within him, warmth spreading through his chest.
Each child was a future waiting to blossom, much like the seeds they were planting.
He reached for his spade, motioning for them to form a line.
All right. Who has first to dig a little hole for our new seeds? One by one, the kids came up, eager and excited.
He handed them the tools, guiding their small hands. As he helped tuck each seed into the soil, he realized he had shifted somewhere along the line. The burdens of his past job, the anxiety of corporate pressure, felt lighter here. Suddenly, one little boy stumbled back onto the grass, his shovel clattering to the ground.
Ugh! I can't do it!
He groaned, arms crossed defiantly. Tom knelt beside him, a shared frustration reflected in the boy's eyes.
Hey, it's okay to be frustrated.
Sometimes things just don't go how we want, he began softly, hoping to instill some wisdom.
But you know what? We learn. It's part of growing, we make mistakes. You want to try again together?
The boy hesitated, glancing at Tom. There was a flicker of hope there.
Yeah, maybe. Tom beamed. Let us try it again.
Remember, the best gardens grow from a little care and the willingness to keep going.
You're doing great.
Together, they grabbed another seed, and with a clear demonstration, they placed it just right in the fresh soil. As the children continued to plant, laughter bubbled up once more, a symphony of innocent joy swirling around him. The sound welcomed him back to the present, erasing the static of his office life. Just then, Hank approached, leaning down beside Tom.
You know, he said quietly, that was an inspiring moment back there. These kids look up to you. They need you here.
Tom looked around, the radiant faces reflecting the sun's warmth. The phone buzzed again, but this time he didn't reach for it. Instead, he let it stay silent, as a choice began to seed in his heart, the choice of truly living and not just existing. What laid in front of him felt bright and promising, unlike anything he had chased from a corner office. Yet, still that reminder the corporate world was not far behind, reaching for him like shadows through the trees. Hank's voice broke through his musings.
Hey, we should break for snacks in a minute. Snacks sound great.
Tom laughed, feeling the excitement of the moment flow through him. But in the midst of the joy, a lingering thought danced at the edges of his mind.
Could this really be it? Was he truly ready to leave everything behind for a life spent in the dirt and laughter? The tug of the unknown lingered, and he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. As Hank grabbed the cooler, Tom smiled at the children, their enthusiasm affirming his heart. What would happen if he dove in? Would this garden grow not just seeds, but connections, hope, and a future he never knew he desired?
With each child planting their dreams, a hard choice awaited him.
Would he answer that call, or embrace a new kind of life?
Tom watched as the kids scattered towards the picnic area, insights from earlier still swirling in his mind. The laughter and energy surrounding him felt like a soothing balm, a stark contrast to the sterile office walls he had known. He stood for a moment, letting the warmth of the sun wash over him, feeling grateful for the chirping of birds and the gentle rustle of leaves. This was where he was meant to be.
Hey, Tom. You coming?
Hank called out, bringing him back to the present. The kids had formed a circle, practically bouncing on their toes, eyes wide with anticipation. A pile of colorful snacks awaited them, a treasure trove of delights that seemed to electrify the air. Of course. Tom replied, crossing the grass, his heart fluttering with newfound excitement. As they gathered, Tom took a seat on the ground beside the kids. Each child held something different in their hands: crunchy snacks, vibrant juices, and homemade cookies, a feast for little hands. The vibrant array of colors brought joy to his heart, mirroring the hope he was beginning to feel about his own life. All right. Let's share our favorite things about gardening, Tom suggested, his own spirit encouraged by their energy. A chorus of voices erupted, each child vying for a chance to speak. A small girl with freckles shouted, "I love how the seeds turn into flowers." "I like the bugs." Another boy exclaimed, raising his hand as if in school. "Me too. The ladybugs are the best." Someone else chimed in, and they all erupted in giggles, the sound like music to Tom's ears. As they chatted, Tom felt a swell of affection for this makeshift family he was creating. It was more than just seeds in the ground, it was nurturing kindness, ideas, and resilience. A tangible bond was forming, one that was far more profound than anything he felt tethered to that corporate ladder. But just as the moment felt magical, his phone buzzed again, this time with a notification that pierced his bubble. A reminder about a big meeting was flashing on the screen. The reality of his dual life slammed back into focus, and he couldn't help but feel torn. "Hey, can I have your attention for a second?" Tom said, trying to lift the growing weight in his chest. "How about we draw pictures of what we want to plant this summer?" The kids cheered, their initial excitement returning as they grabbed their crayons and paper. Tom watched as they began to draw. A rush of inspiration struck him. Could he really shape a future tied not to profit margins and deadlines, but to dreams nurtured in the soil? In that moment, he picked up his phone, battling between the pull of his obligations and the blissful chaos unfolding before him. He wanted to take a leap of faith, but would he really have the courage to do it? With every stroke of crayon alongside the laughter, his heart leaned toward a choice, an affirmation whispering that maybe there was another way to live. As he looked down at his own blank page, he took a deep breath. What would he draw? Would it be a garden? A family? A new beginning? Just as he was about to make a mark, a little hand tugged at his sleeve. "Mr. Tom? What's your favorite plant?" It was the girl with freckles, looking up at him with a serious expression, eager and concerned for his answer. Would he unveil his inner gardener, or would he still be tethered to the life that didn't serve him? The weight of the phone in his pocket felt heavier than ever as he realized that his answer might change everything. Tom's heart raced as he stared into the innocent eyes of the girl with freckles. The world around him dimmed, and in that moment, it felt like the two of them were suspended in space. What did he want to say? He felt the impending weight of his answer, a choice that echoed like thunder in the stillness of his mind. "I guess I really like sunflowers," he said slowly, the words tasting sweet and unfamiliar on his tongue. "They're bright and strong, and they always turn towards the sun." A round of ooze erupted from the kids, each one captivated by his words. Somehow, his simple answer felt like a seed planted in fertile ground, sparking joy and opening a door to deeper conversations. "My dad says they're like nature's happy faces," the girl added, a glimmer of understanding sparking in her eyes. "Can we plant some?" "Absolutely," Tom replied, a newfound resolve swelling in his chest. "We'll make a sunflower garden, filled with happy faces." As he turned to the others, they were fully engaged, their little hands flying with crayons, adding sunflowers, ladybugs, and lots of sunshine to their papers. Laughter filled the air again, blending with the sounds of nature, creating a symphony that pulled at Tom's heartstrings. But in the back of his mind, his phone buzzed insistently, reminding him of the meeting that awaited him. Each vibration felt like a reminder of the life he'd been living, the one filled with high stakes and high stress. Yet, surrounded by these children, those worries faded further into the background. He turned his phone face down in the grass, deciding that for this moment, he would embrace the joy swirling around him. The idea of making a sunflower garden, a symbol of positivity and brightness, became a lifeline, a spark igniting his passion for something greater than mere profits. As the children continued to draw, Tom noticed little details about each of them. The boy with the tousled hair fiercely colored a bright green garden, while a shy girl delicately drew butterflies floating above her blossoms. Each child contributed a piece of themselves into the collective dream they were crafting, and Tom felt a sense of belonging he hadn't known in years. "We should have a sunflower party when they bloom," a child shouted with a mouthful of cookie, their eyes wide with excitement. "Great idea!" Tom beamed back, feeling the warmth of hope spreading within him. They began brainstorming games, snacks, and decorations for their imagined event, their enthusiasm building like a crescendo. In that moment, Tom realized it wasn't just about sunflowers, it was their world of connection and shared dreams that was blossoming. It was a gentle reminder that life could also be about growing together, nurturing one another, and celebrating the little moments that truly mattered. As the laughter continued, Tom stole another glance at his phone, the screen still buzzing a reminder of the corporate treadmill awaiting him.
His chest tightened, torn between two roads. Okay, everyone. Let us put these drawings on the wall and make a gallery. He shouted, his voice full of energy.
The children cheered, racing to collect their artworks while his heart raced with a different kind of tension.
Would he really give this up?
The meeting loomed, a figure darkening the edge of his newfound happiness. Just then, the little girl with freckles approached him again.
Are you coming back tomorrow, Mr. Tom? To plant the seeds?
He smiled, ruffling her hair, but inside he felt like a ship caught between rocks. I'll try my best, he replied, but uncertainty trailed his words like a shadow. As the sun began to dip low, casting long shadows across their colorful creations, Tom's thoughts were a whirlwind.
Should he leap into the unknown?
Was he ready to abandon the safety of his current life? His heart felt heavy, yet light at the same time, pulsing with possibilities. What awaited him if he truly embraced the garden of dreams he had begun to cultivate? Leaving these kids felt almost impossible now, and as the last rays of sun flickered, he made a decision.
Tomorrow, he would
take a step closer to whatever awaited him in the soil, but would he have the courage to step away from everything he'd known? The sun rose over the community center, bathing the world in a warm golden hue.
Tom awoke with an unfamiliar excitement bubbling in his chest.
He had made up his mind. Today would mark a new beginning, one rooted deeply in purpose and connection. As he prepared for the day, he felt a sense of anticipation that was palpable.
The conventional silk tie and polished shoes felt strangely out of place now.
This morning, he embraced a simpler attire, jeans and a worn-out shirt, ready to dig into the earth with the kids. Arriving at the center, Tom was greeted by eager faces, vibrant and glowing with enthusiasm. The children rushed to him, hands sticky from breakfast and eyes sparkling with anticipation.
Mr. Tom, you're here. Are we planting today?
A boy exclaimed, bouncing on his toes.
Yes.
Tom replied, his voice full of energy.
Today we're going to plant those sunflowers.
In the sunlight, he felt the tension fading, washed away by the laughter and cheerful chaos of the kids. They gathered tools, their hands reaching for shovels and seeds, and soon he found himself knee-deep in the joyful whirlwind of planting. As they dug, Tom shared what he had learned, telling stories of persistence and resilience alongside the act of planting.
Just like us, these seeds will need time and care, he explained, watching as they placed the sunflower seeds gently into the ground.
They'll grow big and strong with a little help from the sun and water, just like you'll grow with kindness and enjoy the world around you. The kids listened intently, their small hands covered in dirt as they closely observed each step.
Can we water them after?
A girl piped up, her curiosity radiating from her wide eyes.
Of course.
We have to give them a good drink, Tom encouraged, the brightness in her expression reflecting the hope he had begun to feel. After finishing with the seeds, the children rushed to fetch water, their laughter dancing on the air. Tom's heart filled to the brim, witnessing their carefree joy, their excitement a contrast to the corporate world that had consumed him for so long. With water splashing and dirt mingling, he realized this wasn't just gardening. It was nurturing connections, creating a web of love, and building futures.
Hank joined them, laughter echoing as he playfully talked with the kids, sprinkling encouragement like confetti.
Hey, Tom.
Look, they love the garden.
Hank called, a proud grin plastered on his face. The visible joy on the children's faces sent a rush of warmth through Tom. This was home right here, among laughter, dirt and sunlight. As the sun climbed higher, they broke for lunch, spreading out a picnic blanket and sharing sandwiches under the clean blue sky. In those moments, with food and laughter shared among them, Tom felt a sense of belonging unlike any he'd felt in years. Every bite was filled with the simplicity of community, a stark contrast to the sterile events he'd once attended, perched on high, removed from genuine connection.
Mr. Tom. You're one of us now.
One of the kids proclaimed as he served punch to his new friends.
Tom's heart swelled.
It was all coming together in ways he never expected, but then, as laughter filled the space, an old familiar doubt tugged at him. The phone buzzed silently in his pocket, reminding him of the life he was trying to escape.
Could he really turn his back on the corporate world that had so easily defined him? You okay?
Hank's gentle voice broke through his reverie, a knowing look etched on his face. Tom sighed, struggling to find his words. "Hank, I don't know if I can leave it behind, man. Sometimes we let fear hold us back from what matters," Hank replied, grounding him with honesty. "You have the power to make an impact, to be part of something that genuinely matters. It's your choice, Tom. But I can tell you this: children remember how you made them feel, not the profits you generated." Tom nodded, the gravity of Hank's words hanging in the air like a ripe fruit, ready to fall into his hands. It suddenly felt so clear he could either remain shackled to a life of profit or embrace a path that redefined success not by wealth but by love, kindness, and lives changed. As the picnic wrapped up and laughter echoed around him, Tom took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision swell in his heart. "All right, here's the deal," he declared, the realization sparked within him. "I want to help this community. I want to create programs for mentorship, education, and growth. I want to be someone they can count on." The children cheered, their voices soaring into the sky. Hank's eyes lit up with genuine happiness. "Now that's what I'm talking about. You're going to make a real difference." Tom felt alive, a surge of purpose radiating through him as possibilities unfolded before his very eyes. It was time to dig deep and plant roots not just in the garden, but in the hearts of those around him. That night, as the sun set, casting golden rays across the garden they had cultivated together, Tom realized he had done what was once thought impossible: he had transformed. He was no longer a $1 million figure lost in the shadows of his own empire. He was now an integral part of a community that showed him the real meaning of wealth. The echoes of laughter settled in his heart as he left the garden, a spark in his soul igniting a new chapter, one of growth, purpose, and unwavering connection. This was just the beginning of the journey, but he was ready to embrace it wholeheartedly. It was time to step away from the strict lines of the corporate world and into a life painted with vibrant colors of love, community, and joy. And as he drove home, every mile felt lighter, a promise of a future nurtured by connection and hope growing alongside sunflowers swaying in the warm summer breeze. The decision was made. The past remained in the rearview mirror, while the future awaited with open arms. Now was the moment to share his story and invite others on this journey of transformation. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that inspire hope and change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let the world know these tales matter. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this heartfelt ending. Your voice deserves to be heard. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this remarkable transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel. Your love makes this journey possible.